The Vegas Golden Knights preseason has finally come to a close, and what I want to do now is kind of, go through what we kind of should expect about the Vegas Golden Knights regular season as well as potential playoffs as the year is about to begin, and what we should expect, and the highs and the lows, and what is in the middle is kind of want to cover here. I don't want to jump too high. I don't want to go way too low on expectations and all that. I want to go right in the middle, as close to reality as we can be. So if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the new year, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. But let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go and get right into this. What should we expect from the Vegas Golden Knights in this regular season? So, lots of things have been occurring these past 2, if not 3 years. And this year, I think, might have honestly been the smallest amount of change that we've seen in a long time. There was no massive trade to bring in people. There was a move to get guys out. But for the most part, this team stayed pretty much the same as it was last year, but did get a little bit better, I think, at least from injuries as well as player development. So first, let's start with, a reinvigorated team, I think is what I'd like to call it. After firing Pete DeBoer, the team brought in ex-Boston Bruins coach Bruce Cassidy to bring a new era to the Golden Knights and hopefully get them right back on track with what they have been doing the previous years. Now, each year that this team has brought in a new coach, things have happened to turn out very well for this team. First year, their very first year, opening year, I have a series on that. Gerald Glant, led the team, the Vegas Golden Knights, to the finals in year 1. By far, his best year with the team was in his first year. Now, he would slowly get worse and then be fired. And then Pete DeBoer would be brought in. Pete DeBoer's first year that he took over for the team made it to the Western Conference Finals. His best year with the team was in year 1. And then he would slowly get worse until they missed the playoffs last year, and Pete DeBoer was fired. And now the hope is that Bruce Cassidy can come in and do something similar to what those coaches did in year 1. Now, you would like to see him do better than what they did in the remaining years, but at least in year 1, you want to see this team make the finals, is the best level, but at least be pretty competent and competitive when it comes time for the playoffs. Now, you do want to see him be better long-term and not be gone after 3 years once again. But more than anything, you just want to see this team compete for a championship. And I think that's what everyone kind of feels. I would rather see the Vegas Golden Knights win a championship or compete in the finals and then have a brand new head coach every 3 years than have a coach for a long term but get knocked out of the playoffs in the first or second round every single year. Just bias. I would rather see them competing for the finals than just in the playoffs. Fair enough to me. But we have already seen some production from this team in the preseason alone. At the end of the preseason, they were 4-3. And quick note here, yes, it's the preseason, but I think the preseason in hockey is a lot different than the preseason in football, in basketball, because for the most part, you actually are seeing almost all your starters play in a good portion of the games just to get back to full speed, because game time speed and practice speed are extremely different in hockey. And yes, it's different in other sports, but extremely different in hockey. You're not going to get hit in practice the way you're going to get hit in games. You're not going to have, all the diverse goalie people that you have to face. I mean, goalies get so different depending on team to team. So you just need to face it. So I think that preseason in hockey does translate a little bit better than other sports preseasons, but do take it with a grain of salt as a preseason. You're not facing the best competition at all times. But the team did end 4-3, and even with such a small sample size of, I believe, 7 games, the offense is much improved, going from 3.2 goals per game last year to a 3.85 so far this year, nearly 4. And 3.2 was right about league average last year. 3.85 would have put them in the top 10. Great job for them so far. Not only that, but in the shootout, a thing that, cost the Vegas Golden Knights their opportunity to make the playoffs last year, the Vegas Golden Knights did very good when they had opportunities to. I think the first preseason game they won in their shootout and lost in their normal game, which I think is kind of funny to think about. but this team definitely is starting to get back on the right track. And they, in the goalie position at least, in goals against average, is almost identical. I mean, goals against average for last year was a 2.98, and this year, so far, it is a 3. So slightly worse, but so much so that it's almost identical. And the thing is, actually, the Vegas Golden Knights have faced more shots per game so far this year, so their save percentage is actually better than it was last year. Now, again, it's a small sample size, but it's still something to kind of base some things off of and move forward. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here to expect for this team is, a team with something to actually prove. A team that has a chip on their shoulder. Year 1, they had a chip on their shoulder. Look where it got them. Year 4, would it have been, when Pete DeBoer came in? They had a chip on their shoulder. Look where it got them. Now they have, I think, the biggest chip on the shoulder that they have ever had outside of maybe year 1. And I don't even know if they had a chip on their shoulder year 1. It was just like, just a ragtag group of guys that made it work. But they definitely have a big chip on their shoulder this year. Last year was the first year that the Vegas Golden Knights ever missed the playoffs, and it happened to come off of a massive trade for Jack Eichel, and also a trade that moved Marc-Andre Fleury, their star goalie that was the face of the franchise, away from the team. Now, the team also went long stretches with, a beaten and bruised team, whether it was Jack Eichel himself missing the better half of the season at the start of the year. Mark Stone missed a good portion of the year after the All-Star break. Max Pacioretty, Alex Pietrangelo, all these top guys, Robin Lehner, all of these top-level guys were missing time, and that was a big part of it. And this whole offseason, especially at late in the year, everyone was rooting against the Vegas Golden Knights. And I mean everyone. No one cared who made the playoffs outside of their team making the playoffs, as long as Vegas wasn't in. And for what reason, I'm not sure. I think people just don't like a team that is winning that early, and the Vegas did that, and everyone was rooting against them. And I think that's just going to really make this team want to win even more, because for some reason, no one likes them, even though they have, a pretty likable group of guys overall. Now, the thing is, health is really unpredictable. Last year, it definitely destroyed Vegas' chances of making playoffs. But if this team can say, semi-healthy, this team is going to be a scary sight to see. And yes, it might be a little bit of an overreaction as a guy with bias towards his own favorite team, but I think overall this team can be really scary to look at, especially when you start talking about those top lines, which we're going to do in 1 second here. But not only did this team begin to click late in the season and when healthy, but they were only 3 points away from being in the wild card and 5 points away from being a top 3 seed in the Pacific Division. So it's not like they got completely blown out for the whole year, and the health issues completely destroyed them and all that. I mean, they were right there. I mean, you win another random game or two here. You beat a certain team at the right time of the year. You take 2 points from them, gain 2 points for yourself. I mean, you're in. It's that simple. You're in with just one right win here or there, or an overtime, preventing an overtime and winning at the right time. So Vegas was right there. They were so close. Now, when healthy, this team held the best seed in the Pacific before things started to turn and start tumbling down. After a full offseason of everyone talking trash about this team, of people getting healthy and all that, what was once the NHL's golden child, the Vegas Golden Knights, will want to really rub in the success of their team to everyone's face and leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I think that's going to be a big factor in how well this team does, is just being tired of everyone bashing them after being a team that everyone was kind of rooting for, and then the tides just changed. So I think that chip on the shoulder this year is going to be a big factor in how good this team can do. And definitely something to expect is that this team is going to be a little bit more feisty than they have been. Even with Ryan Reeves, I think this team might be a little bit more feisty than they were back then, just because how much everyone seems to hate them. That's going to lead to a factor of, hating everyone else back a little bit. Next thing here is going to be something I mentioned here a second ago, and that's going to be the top lines are finally ready to produce. Now, the Knights might have one of the best top 2 lines in the entire league, especially when healthy. Mark Stone was just an all-star last year and will likely do so again this year as long as he stays healthy, and honestly was on pace to break 100 points himself, which is something that not a lot of players get to do. Jack Eichel has already been an all-star himself, but after facing some injuries, he could not return to that stardom last year. But I think this year, as long as he stays healthy, he can definitely reach that level right there and be an all-star. And I think out of everyone on this team, Jack Eichel has the best opportunity to break 100 points this year. I think Stone could also do it very well too, especially with his passing ability. And you know, it doesn't end there. Phil Kessel, the old man himself, still has some awards to chase, so he has plenty of reason to continue to go after this. You also bring back Nick Hague today, not to mention that's going to be a big piece. He's probably going to be the starter on defense. So that's good to see. Shea Theodore has proven to be a great scoring defenseman. Riley Smith just got a huge contract and is going to have stuff to prove, especially after being, fully healthy. Alex Pietrangelo still got it in him being an all-star last year, even with his age. And all that, and we still haven't even mentioned William Karlsson, who I think is going to have a bounce-back year. And, I think has plenty in him to be a factor on this team, whether he scores or not. We haven't even mentioned Jonathan Marchessault, who is one of the league or team leaders, overall as a team, as well as in points scoring. I mentioned Nick Hague right there, and you also have Zach Whitecloud. I mean, those are 4 guys right there that by themselves could be really important pieces on our team, but they're on the same team as guys like Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, Shea Theodore, Riley Smith, Alex Pietrangelo. I mean, these top 2 lines are loaded, and then you also have that goalie room, which I thought about doing a whole topic on, but I just don't think there's enough to flush it out. But you got Logan Thompson, who was top 10 in a couple stats last year for goalies. Aiden Hill, who has looked very solid so far for the Vegas Golden Knights, as well as previously. Overall, and Robin Leonard when he gets healthy. I mean, overall, the top 2 lines, this goalie room, everyone, they look really good. And that's it's not even discredit to these lower lines. I mean, there's some really good players on those lower lines. Keegan Kolesar's look very good. Nick Waugh on the lower lines. You have so much talent on this team, and it's just, I really hope that this team can start getting on the right track, because it's on paper, this team looks so good. But as we all know, paper doesn't mean everything. Now, the last thing here is going to be the fact that, it's going to be a tough battle to get back in the playoffs. Even with so much talent and a new coach to bring this team together, there is still a large hill to climb. Flames last year looked extremely good. I think they might have got a little bit worse this year. You also have the Colorado Avalanche, who just won a championship. They're going to be a hard team to beat. The Pacific by itself has plenty of really solid teams. The Kings did very good by themselves. I think the Flames are in the Pacific. You have a lot of teams that could really start to get stuff going. And that's not even to mention, that's just in the East by itself, which is who you're going to have to compete with to make it into the playoffs. But throughout the year, you're going to be facing teams in the West. You're going to be facing some of these teams that aren't very great, but could still do good. I mean, even the Ducks, they're not great, but I think that, John Gibson, if he starts getting back to where he was, that team could quickly become a conversation piece for potentially making the playoffs. Out West, you have so much more, talent that could cause some issues. There's a huge hill to climb to get back to the top. And especially when you get in the playoffs going against these teams one-on-one. The Stars look like they're going to be really, really good. Funnily enough, we're going to see a new coach there as well, as I think we're all familiar with that coach. But there is going to be a big hill to climb. But, what do you guys think? What are your, overreaction expectations? And what are your actual, reality expectations for what this team can do? Comment it down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Like I said at the top of the show, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. And as always, I hope it taught some today. Hope it made you smile, hope it made you laugh. Something really important to me. Affects someone today in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.